So our theme this month has been about grounding in, living from, really anchoring in our fundamental belief in science of mind. The fundamental belief that there is one power, one presence, one life, and that one power, that one presence, that one life is God, and it is good. And that one power, that one presence, that one life that is God, that is good, is our life. It is the life that lives and moves and has its being as and through us. Fundamental belief, foundational teaching for our science of mind philosophy. And it's not just ours, there are others as well. All of New Thought believes that. And actually, if you look into the sacred texts of pretty much any religion, you will find that at the foundation. But it is clearly at the foundation and the forefront of what we believe. And while we believe this to be truth, capital T, we also aren't ostriches, and we don't live with our heads in the sand, and we know that we are living in a world today that doesn't necessarily look like what we would refer to as oneness. We would say all those things that I just said could be summarized in the word oneness. It doesn't look in this world necessarily like oneness, and that we call duality. So it seems like we see love, and yet we also see a lot of fear. We see hearts filled with compassion and care. We also see hearts filled with hatred. We see beautiful acts of goodness, and we see acts what look like evil. I put that in quotes, since that is actually not a force we believe in, but rather a way of showing up in the world that will keep occurring until we change, which is all what today is about. We see boundless joy, and we also see heartbreaking tragedy. So look at all that. That seems like so much duality. How do we live our principle of oneness in the face of so much duality? It has been our intention this whole month to bring you ideas, thoughts, practices, practical ideas to help you live in a world of seeming duality and yet live from a place of oneness. And part of what we've done this month is invited questions. We had a panel the second Sunday of the month, and you wrote down your questions, and the panel, we pulled and answered as many of the questions as we could, but we couldn't get to all of them, and so we took the questions, and I kept them, and I gave them to Reverend Sherry, who spoke last Sunday while we were gone, and we both have looked at those questions and incorporated them into what we've shared the rest of the month, and I'm going to incorporate several of those questions here this morning. In fact, I'm going to bring in one right now. So here is a question that was asked. The question is, and starts with, I am often asked the question, if God is only love, goodness, light, etc., how can he or she allow killing to happen and all the evil in the world to occur? I never know how to answer this question in a way that is clear and understandable. Can you help me? Love, love, love. Thank you. So this question actually has to do with our topic, a portion of our topic today, which is wanting or choosing. This question has to do with the choosing part of the question of our topic for today. So before I answer it, I want to back up a step to say that the greatest gift we were given beyond the gift of life, which is actually the first gift. The first gift we all got was the great gift of coming into incarnation as a human being. That is a tremendous gift. We don't always honor that gift, but it is a huge gift. But the second greatest gift after that one is the gift of choice. And this is our whole theme for today. The quote I just shared a minute ago from Ernest Holmes is all about how we choose to show up in this world. So the question, again, is asked, if God is only love, then how could God allow all these horrible things to happen? I don't know how to answer that question when people ask it of me. And the answer is, because we're given the freedom of choice, we have to have a choice between something. Ernest Holmes speaks to that kind of dichotomy, if you will, when he writes at page 110 and 111 of the textbook. So if you are the one who wrote that question, go to those two pages because they answer your question. And here is a portion of that. It's not all of it, but a portion. The meaning of freedom implies the possibility of suffering, because if we are free only by virtue of the possibility of choosing more than one course of action in an experience. There is no freedom or happiness as a spontaneous individuality unless there can be a temporary, and please underscore that word, you'll hear that a little bit later as well, temporary restriction of bondage and unhappiness through the wrong use of freedom. The wrong use meaning focusing on that which is not free, making a choice of something that is not free. The age-long discussion of the problem of evil will never be answered until we realize that evil is not a thing of itself. Let me say that again. The problem of evil will be met only to the degree. Let me back. The age-long, there it is, discussion of the problem of evil will never be answered until we realize that evil is not a thing of itself. We do not believe that evil is a force that is separate, some separate force from God. It is all God, and there is no force of evil. There are things that appear evil because we have gotten lost and misused the law of freedom. So Ernest says, the problem of evil will be met only to the degree that we cease doing it and we do good, for it will disappear when we no longer indulge in it. When the whole world sees the right and does the right, then and not until then will the problem of evil be solved for the entire race. I love that quote, and I'm going to take one tiny exception to something Ernest said in there. Is that okay? Can I do that? That's not like blasphemous to like say, Ernest, I don't agree with you there. I'm gonna say to Ernest Holmes, I don't quite agree with you in one little thing he said, which was, when the whole world sees right and does right, then and not until then will the problem of evil be solved in the entire race. I don't think it takes the whole world to do it. I think it takes enough of us to create the tipping point. Enough of us, and we are part of that. Hallelujah. That's so amazing that we are part of the people who will create the tipping point that then sends all of humanity into a new way of being and living and thinking and being together. So I don't think it takes every single human being to wake up before we can see a change. It just takes a critical mass of us to wake up. And we are moving in that direction. I absolutely believe that. We are moving in that direction, and you are a part of it. So breathe that in, that you are part of the awakening of humanity. Would you say that I am a part of the awakening of humanity? Say it. I am a part of the awakening of humanity. That felt good, didn't it? Did you really put it on? Because I heard a tiny bit of hesitation. So I want you to really put that on. Are we ready? I am a part of the awakening of humanity. Good, go home now and do it. No, all right. So, let's speak to our topic of the day, which is wanting or choosing. So what we know is this. Because there is a law that says yes, it's a spiritual law that says yes to whatever we plant in it. When we plant a wanting in the law, what is the consciousness, which is like the way we're showing up, our feelings and our beliefs and our thoughts, what is the consciousness behind wanting something? I don't have it. When we want something, we come from the consciousness of I don't have it, which is a consciousness of lack and a complete consciousness of separation. So when we come from want, we plant want in the seed. We plant a seed of want in the law, which is like the soil. And what do we get back? More lack, more want. So really, when we want something, we are pushing it away. We're pushing it away. Does that make sense? Have you got that? All right. So in order to pull it to us, because the law will simply say yes to whatever we plant in it, in order to pull it to us, we must choose to be that which we desire. Whatever it is that we want or desire, we need to be it. Because as soon as we are it, then we plant the are it, I am it, into the law, and then we get back that which we desire. Got it? Does that make sense? All right. Yes, good. Glad to hear it. So, there is something in here, though, that's important and may feel like, oh, she's talking out of both sides of her mouth, and I'm not. It is that we do need to be clear about what our desire is. So there's a moment where we have to go, what is it that I would like to experience that I'm not experiencing at the moment? What is it? We do need to be clear about the desire. But if we're always in the I want it, we're coming from the place of I don't have it. But the first step is to be clear about the desire. And I love looking at the etymology, I always have to think about that word, etymology of words, meaning where do they come from, the origin of words. And the origin of desire is a Latin word. And does anybody in here speak Latin? Do you? So can you pronounce this for me? So it's D-E-S-I-D-E-R-E. Desidera. I love it. I really did not expect anyone to say, yes, I speak Latin. I am so impressed with that. All right, so that is the root word for our modern desire. And that word means, I love this, from the stars. It means from the stars. So what we desire for ourselves and for our world comes from the stars, or from the divine, from the heavens, from, we could say, God. And I once had a spiritual teacher say to me that it is a high and holy spiritual endeavor to experience our desires. We honor God by doing so. I love that. So we do need to be clear about our desires. And Jesus said, he told us we needed to do that, and then he told us what would happen when we got clear about it. And it's in Matthew chapter 7, verse 7. You've probably heard this verse before. He said, ask and it shall be given unto you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door will be opened unto you. There it is. Be clear about your desire. Choose it and it will be there. Choose to be it. So I want to have a question right now. Don't answer it out loud yet. But think for a moment, and we're going to actually take a closed eye moment in a second to what is it that you have on your heart right now that you are desiring for your life or for our world? I know we all have things on our hearts that we are desiring to have a different experience. So we're not in the lack of I want it, but we're getting clear about the desire so then we can choose to show up and be the one who is that thing. So close your eyes just for a moment. And simply ask yourself that deep place in you that is your seat of wisdom and your seat of intuition and your seat of knowing. What is up for you right now in your own life and or in the life of our world where you have a desire? What is that desire? And I'm going to ask a question, and I would like an answer. I wasn't clear about that in first service, so I didn't get an answer, and then I just stood up here like hanging up here waiting for an answer. So now I'm asking for an answer. Do you have something in mind? Yes. Okay, good. A couple of you do anyway. Good. So open your eyes and talk to me very briefly. Just yell out. Tell me, what's something that is on your heart that you desire? Talk to me. A job. Bill has a very specific cool job that he is working for. So fantastic. So a job. Wonderful. What else? Marrying Phil. Well, that's already done. That's already done. Well, not done, but it's going to be done. I mean, you guys have already paid me to marry you. Next year. I mean, it's next year. The wedding is next year, and they've already given me the check, so it's done, right? All right. Well, what else? I love that. That's an act as if. I like that. What else? What else? Yes, Suzanne. Say that again. To always move from my heart. Good. What else? Something. Money. Money. There we go. All right. Yes. Total financial freedom. What else? Understanding. Good. What else? Freedom. Beautiful. What else? Yes. Open your own business. Yes. Share my gifts in the world. I love it. Yes. In the back. Yes. Healthy balance, Christian. That was good. All right. Anything else? Those are all great. And I know you all have something. You're just being shy this morning, and that's okay. So here's the deal. Today, choose to be the person who experiences that thing you desire. This is how it works. Choose to be the person who is experiencing that thing you desire, even though that thing isn't yet here. There's a great illustration of how this works in, there are many illustrations everywhere, but the one I want to give you this morning is from the Bible. It's in 2 Kings, and it's a story of 3 kings and their men who found themselves in the deserts with their horses and no water. It was arid, dry, no water. And they went to the prophet Elijah and said, help. We need water. We need help. And he gave them an answer that was rather astonishing, and actually made no sense. Here's what he said. He said to the kings, thus saith the Lord, ye shall not see wind, neither shall ye see rain, yet make this valley full of ditches. Now, can you imagine the kings going, excuse me? Do you see any clouds in the sky? Do you see a storm? Ditches. Why would we build ditches? But I guess they thought that when you go ask a prophet, you probably ought to listen to their answer and do what they say. Besides, otherwise, what's the point of going to see a prophet? So they did. They dug ditches. They dug ditches. They dug ditches. And of course, we know the rest of that story, even if you don't know specifically the story. The rains came, and the scripture says the ditches were filled to overflowing. Because that's how it works. In the great book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, it's a New Thought classic by Florence Scovel Shinn. She wrote, the one who knows spiritual law is undisturbed by appearances. The one who knows spiritual law is undisturbed by appearances and rejoices while he is yet in captivity. While he is yet in captivity of whatever the condition might be in your life or in the world, the one who knows spiritual law is the one who can rejoice in that anyway. So I have the honor and pleasure right now of teaching 5 classes. I do realize that my overachiever probably kicked into gear a little bit too much, and I'm realizing that 5 might be a bit much. Won't do that again, but I love them all, and they're amazing, and many of you are in 1 or 2 or 3 of those classes. Let's see, 4 or 5. I don't know how many there are, but anyway, they're amazing. They're amazing classes, and 3 of them happen to be the Art of Feminine Presence, which is a new class, new training that I've recently gone through, and it's just truly mind-blowing. And one of the students in one of those classes this week, and she gave me permission to share this. I was so touched by this, and then asked her if I could share today, and she was honored for me to do this. Christine is her name. So Christine said, in our sharing time, she said, since I've started doing these energetic practices and bringing in these concepts of the art of feminine presence, talk to me if you want to know more about that. She said, I have so much joy. I am just bursting with joy and happiness. And at the same time, I'm an empath. I'm very empathic. And my heart aches for those who are hurting right now. And I actually feel very guilty that I personally feel so much joy and happiness. And she was in tears over this because she was just in this quandary of feeling bad about feeling good, right? Because there are other people who are feeling sad and hurt and wounded and crisis and so many things happening in the world, and yet she feels so good, so much joy. And I loved what her classmates said to her, which was this: your joy and your happiness is exactly what our world needs. And we need to hear how joy-filled you are and how happy you are. That uplifts us. And as you uplift us, we uplift the rest of the world. in the face of whatever the circumstances may be, the one who knows the spiritual law is still rejoices. Still rejoices. And what a beautiful example of someone, and that would, for her, getting that permission, if you will, by her fellow classmates to live in joy and to feel her joy was just like a weight lifted off of her shoulders. And she texted me when I asked her if I could share this today she's like, I can't wait next time I see you next week to tell you the things that have happened for me, shifts that have occurred for me since I had the burden lifted of the guilt of feeling joyful. So that is the answer to this question that one of you posed a couple of weeks ago. The question was, how do I detach myself from letting the daily world affairs not affect me? Find your joy. Find your peace. Find what makes you calm. Find your spiritual center. Use the spiritual tools that we teach here. Oh, prayer is a good one. Use them. Use them. We say often that the headlines are just one big, giant prayer request. That's what they are. So you see a headline that disturbs you, come to Headlines for Healing, by the way, on Friday nights. There it is. And go in prayer about that. But if you're disturbed in the moment, move to prayer, move to a place of joy. 2 other questions I want to share because the answer to them, I think, is the same. One of them is, we are taught that everything is God and that all is good and evil doesn't exist. Yes, we just said all of that today. But how do we explain the horror that is happening in our country and in the world? And then the other question is, does our country world have to completely break down to break through and for it to be healed and whole? Big, deep questions. Thank you, whoever asked those questions. Powerful. And when they're on our hearts, they feel heavy. The answer to those questions, well, the second one is, I want to just directly answer it. Do we have to completely break down in order to have a breakthrough? No, I don't think we do. If we're willing to be the tipping point people, we don't have to have a complete breakdown. And what is going on in our world right now, there is that breakdown so that something new, higher, expansive, loving oneness can actually break through. That's why this is happening. It's happening so that we can make the shift. Now, Ernest Holmes, in the same vein of every quote I've shared with him from him this morning, I want to share another one that comes from Living the Science of Mind. We read it in our foundations class this week, and I so love it, and it is so perfect for today. He said, very similar to something in the textbook, but slightly different, the river of life forever flowing through us is ever ready and willing to take the form which we give it. It appears, I love these words, it appears that we have the ability, at least temporarily, to pollute this stream of life with the consciousness of hate, despair, or any negative thought which denies its purity. We got a lot of that going on right now. But of course, he says, we do not have the power to destroy, only to mold and remold. It is fortunate indeed that this is true, for in spite of all of our misdirection, we are still being carried forward on the bosom of this infinite stream to a harbor of perfect safety. We may rest in the absolute assurance that good will be the final goal of all. So breathe that in. We may rest in absolute assurance that good will be the final goal of all. And we can hasten the advent of this good by definitely clarifying our thought and by daily meditating upon the invisible source, the wellspring of life within each one of us. And I will add, we can hasten the advent of this good by definitely choosing love, even in the face of fear, definitely choosing peace, even in the face of conflict, and by definitely choosing harmony, even in the face of disharmony, whether it's in our lives or in our world. This is how we bring this new world into being. So I want to leave this morning as well as this theme, with something from the Global Oneness Day. Last week we mentioned in the announcements that on Tuesday, the 24th, last Tuesday, there was a day-long summit of a variety of modern day speakers talking about oneness and giving their different perspectives and their ideas on how to live from oneness in our world today. It was really a powerful day. And on the website, there is their declaration of oneness. And I am very moved by this declaration. So I want us to have this be our declaration for today. Now, it's too long for me to say it, you to say it back. It would take us until 12:30 here, so we're not going to do that. But we will make this available up on our website and on Facebook. Yes? Yes, my Facebook girl has got it back there. Thank you, Nicole. So I just invite you now to close your eyes and to be with it. Just to be with it and make this, should you so choose, your declaration. It is written in the first person, in I statement, so make these your statements. And each one of them begins with I declare. So really feel these in your heart. Bring them into your beingness. This, my friends, is how we change the world and experience the world that we desire. I declare that hold on one second. I declare that the message we are all one, interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent with God, life, and one another is the one spiritual message that the world has been waiting for to bring about loving and sustainable answers to humanity's challenges. I declare that the world does not have to be the way it currently is, and that individual people can and will change it using this power of spiritual citizenship. I declare that humanity is good and has unlimited potential, and that social transformation starts with personal transformation. Therefore, I recognize the importance of connecting with my own divine essence and inner wisdom throughout my life's journey, allowing the finest and the highest levels of my potential to flourish for the benefit of all. I declare that my aspirations support spiritual principles, global ethics, and universal values such as respect, justice, peace, dignity, freedom, responsibility, and cooperation that underlie this declaration. Breathe these in, take them in, make them yours. I declare that human beings need each other to survive on this planet. I recognize that we are all in this together, and that community flourishes as we learn about each other and revel in the wonder and beauty of our diversities. I declare that I am playing my part to help bring about a culture in which we, the people of the world, address our common global concerns in a holistic, positive, and transforming way, and live together in peace with one another. I declare that oneness contains all of life, also the parts that we regard as the other. I realize that wholeness and togetherness can only be experienced through the recognition of the uniqueness, the beauty, and the purpose of all aspects of life, and that this recognition starts with myself. I declare that I am part of the emerging consciousness that promotes a spirit of oneness, inquiry, connection, and relationship with myself and the entire universe, and who continues to recognize the wonder, the beauty, and the mystery of it all. I declare that the time for change is now. And I declare that this change begins with me.